What's up, guys? I'm SaltEMike, and this is your Star Citizen Week in Review for November 11th, 2024. CIG pushed patches to 3 different environments again this week. ISC and SCL are back, and the IAE schedule is here. All that and more on today's Week in Review. And as always, if this is your first Week in Review, this is where I take all of the official Star Citizen news each week, put it into one video, and share my opinions about it. I also live stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/SaltEMike, and I really do appreciate when you guys stop by and say hi. But before we get into the video, let me share with you today's sponsor. Thank you to Manta Sleep for sponsoring today's video. Manta Sleep makes the world's best sleep masks and functional sleep accessories, and with a new puppy in my life, I'm finding myself using Manta Sleep products more than ever before. This week, I stuck with my trusty silk mask, but I found myself using different eye cups because I really needed to. I got quite a few headaches. You know, the ones right behind your eyes, those stress headaches? Nothing has really dealt with those like Manta cool eye cups for me. I just leave them in the freezer, and whenever I need them, that cool relief is there for me. Manta Sleep also sent out something really cool. It's a sticker pack, but not because I got 100 on a test or anything. It's for those pesky lights on electronics that prevent your room from being completely dark. So if a sleep mask isn't for you, Manta Sleep has you covered with some really good alternatives. Oh, and by the way, my wife did not end up stealing my silk pillowcase, and that's not because it isn't amazing. It's because she got one of her own now, and she's sound asleep on it as we speak. So, shh. So if you're interested in improving your sleep and becoming more productive, then join the Pro Nap movement at mantasleep.com and use code SaltEMike for 10% off your order. Once again, that's code SaltEMike for 10% off your order at mantasleep.com. Thanks as always for checking out the sponsor spots and supporting me that way. It has really helped this year in more ways than you will ever know. Now, more than ever. But now, let's get to the video and talk about all these patches. All right, we'll start out on Tuesday with a 324.2a going live. This was the hot fixes we talked about last week. The patch really helped on Tuesday and early Wednesday, but yeah, it was kind of hard to tell if it was going to stay that way, and I'm hearing it did not. History says it wouldn't, but I tested Wednesday morning and was able to mine on planets when I wasn't on live previously. I was getting hurt by AI planetside, and cargo missions worked, so that was good for however short-lived it may have been, but we need consistency, right? Tuesday night, we got a 324.3 on the PTU, and this is the IAE patch. As you could see, the frame rate on Microtech is horrible. They didn't have any of the new ships at the convention center or anything, but I then took to the Save Stanton missions, and they didn't work great either. I completed one Protect Hauler mission early in the morning, but then the rest had teleporting enemies and never completed. The distro centers, forget it. The frames were so bad, it wasn't even worth going there. And then I checked out some of the feature changes, like the Starfarer HUD. It's huge and in your face. The Freelancer HUD looks pretty nice. I like that. And then they said they fixed some issues with the mining bags, but as you could see, the invisible collision thing is still there. Then we had Wednesday a 4.0 Evo patch. We started out in Pyro, where we checked out more of the contested zone puzzle because it was coming online, but barely. A location that was never there before is there now, and basically nothing there was functioning. We also confirmed that at this time, the military items are removed from shops in the game and have been added to the contested zones, right? So that's an interesting way of doing things. And it's weird because military stuff isn't meta anymore. So not really sure what they're doing there. I also completed a ton of jumps back and forth from Pyro and Stanton. It's getting much more consistent. So like about Tuesday, consistency is good. The jump points seem to be consistently working better. Lastly, a subtle bug fix that's actually really huge for FPS players. Any weapon with a charge mechanic, the charge is now queued, so you don't have to time it perfectly. You can just hold left click and let go when you're ready to fire. Then on Thursday, we had a 324.3 PTU again, and this was a pretty minor patch for me. It brought the Starfarer HUD to be in line with the Freelancer. The medical bed screen is fixed, and you can take care of yourself and others again. And they said they fixed some quantum travel bugs, but I still have them even today. Friday, we got another 324.3, and IAE is still in testing, but both the Polaris and the Starlancer were added to the game for us to check out. I started out with the Star Lancer, and I do think it's a nice ship for a small group of friends, but it isn't shouting out that I need it or anything. It's just kind of there. I like the interior, but nothing's calling for me for what I like to do in the game, right? Which is industry stuff, even though it's an industry ship. It just feels like a jack of all trades and a master of none, and I'm more drawn to specialized ships. The Polaris is a pretty specialized ship, and it's huge. They did an amazing job with the interior, and it feels like a military ship. On the exterior, I'm sure you wondered why I didn't talk about this earlier in the day, since it happened earlier in earlier patches. But they added a point defense turrets to the Polaris, the Connie Phoenix, and I believe the 890 jump as well. But the Polaris guns seem to have been the only really effective ones. Lastly, they added a mission detail thing to the Mobi-Glass on the right side in your star map, which is pretty cool. But it's just super functional, more functional than the actual mission app, which is pretty funny. You can swap between all of the missions that you have accepted, track and untrack by simply double clicking on the name of them, all in one app, which is really nice. Friday, we had a 4.0 Evo again, and I started looking for these space cows on Hurston, but given I haven't seen anyone or anyone else find them, I don't think the notes are correct. The Quasi-Grazer probably isn't in yet, or it's like falling under the planet or something. Then I saw that the clouds were getting really, really interesting, so I checked them out on Pyro 4, and I don't think this means a whole lot at the moment for the gameplay or anything, but if gameplay gets made, this is just going to enhance that. And if they ever do the super crazy weather or something like that, you can see the clouds forming and coming to you and all that stuff. It looks really neat. Apparently, missions were supposed to be working as well, but I tried one of the Bit Zero missions, and it brought me to an asteroid base. There were NPCs there, but there was no mission progress or anything like that. So I'm not really sure what's going on with that in the notes. And then I found a new commodity, ice. It appears to be extremely low value or looking like that, but it's getting really cool when you think of the crafting implications for every time they add new commodities. It just isn't another thing to trade at a trade terminal, right? It potentially has some meaning, which is pretty cool. And that was all the patches for the week. That was a lot. Let's go into the monthly report. All right, before we jump into the meat of the monthly report, I just want to remind everybody this is a post-CitizenCon monthly report. So it's going to be mostly focused on that. So I'm just pulling out the things that may not have been focused on that, or things that I can call out as problematic maybe a little bit, and you'll see that in just a second here. They started out with AI features, and they mentioned NPCs healing downed enemies, or healing actually players. So yeah, I heard an NPC healed a streamer this week from a downstate, an enemy NPC at that. They also mentioned NPCs using rockets, which we've heard a lot about already. Railguns, rockets, sniper rifles, all those things. We've only really seen them use sniper rifles. I hear that people have seen them use railguns, but I haven't seen it yet. Then AI tech, this section is here simply because it's mentioning server meshing. They also say things like first pass on the enemy vision that we saw at CitizenCon in the demo, but first passes that are used in CitizenCon demos don't usually mean a first pass for us. I think we learned that lesson from last year's CitizenCon, right? And that wording is just suspect, and I want to call that out. But I also see ship AI mentioned, and my experiences against them have been getting a lot better. Then for animation, the obvious work on the obvious creatures that we saw for the last little while, the Quasi-Grazer and the Valakar, and then character art, more mentioning specialist armors that we finally got to see at CitizenCon. And you've heard this a lot. I've mentioned these better be good. They better live up to what CitizenCon said they would be. I think they kind of did. Then ship art. 6 more ships are going into production soon. I wish literally 6 things of any kind would go into production for the rest of the game. That would be cool. Mission design. Lastly, the team is finishing up the Save Stanton quest chain while planning guild stuff, which I think is pretty exciting. And then what's missing from this report? The entire core gameplay section, which is like 30% of the report usually, is just not there. Nothing from that team at all. When basically the entire show of CitizenCon was like, we are gameplay focused now. We are focused on what the player experience is and improving the gameplay aspect of it, and then nothing there. So I thought that was a little odd and disappointing, but yeah, a typical post CitizenCon monthly report, but a little less so because it had even less in it than I would have expected. And then we got video updates this week. First time in like months, it feels like. Inside Star Citizen, we had the behind-the-scenes CitizenCon. Yeah, it's obviously there's nothing to share here in terms of the actual game from this video. But if you really like behind-the-scenes stuff, links in the description. I really do look forward to seeing how Jared will be able to pull off the epic stall that was the road to 4.0. And, you know, will it be as long as that? So it's... This is going to be longer than I actually believe they thought that 4.0 was coming. And this time, there's no indication that 1.0 is anytime soon, right? Star Citizen Live was a question and answer character and creature section. And the first question they answered would have been my most important.
How are engineering, mining, and industrial suits also coming along?
Yeah, so yeah, that's correct. We did see a lot of combat stuff. I think we were very excited to show a lot of the new armor sets that we're making, and it was just by chance that they were combat focused. But any eagle-eyed spotters would have seen in one of the slides, we actually had the concept or the prototype of our mining suit. So the mining suit is going to have its own dedicated mining visor, where you'll be able to scan and find more detailed information about minables that are around you, much further distance. And obviously it offers great environmental protection, so obviously we want players to be going down in caves and obviously with different temperature resistance and obviously for storage as well. So those minables, whether they be large or small, we want the player to be able to think if they're dedicated in mining that they can head towards that. And we've got the salvage suit as well, like just reminded me of that. Like, obviously, the beauty of this as well is we are going into some of our armor sets that are more legacy as well. So it's not just new armor sets. So obviously we've got the current Grin armor, which I actually think has got a really cool feature. So it will be kind of streamlined more with the backpack. It's have its own dedicated backpack, which will stream from the tool through the arm into the backpack, which means once you're salvaging, you won't have to worry about changing the vials and whatnot. It'll go streamlined straight into your backpack. So if that is something you're dedicated in, then that has that opportunity as well. That's still kind of in concept phase for that. I know the mineable one's a bit more obvious, but we'd like obviously to provide the players with enough detail as they need. So if that is a profession that they're particularly interested in, then when they do scan and ping out towards objects that they can interact with, then they will get more detail about potentially what material is and how much the health of the component, of the chip component, sorry. So
yeah, most players who don't have that visor will be relying on the screen on their weapon, you know, to understand what they're salvaging. Whereas they may, you know, the visors may get extra information either side.
The mining suit makes a lot of more sense to me, but I'm glad they are not really far along on the salvage because it's also not that far along itself. Salvage is a mechanic that is very tier 0, and if we have seen how cargo and other professions have changed with older ships and other tools, right, not being able to keep up as much, I prefer them to stay in the concept phase while salvage is still learning what it is. I don't mean that salvage needs to change completely. It's just there's only like 2 commodities that work with it, and it obviously is going to change a little bit, right? And structural salvage is so placeholder feeling. Next is something that Zach already shared on Spectrum, but I think it's worth sharing again.
The comment that I saw almost immediately, like as the show was starting, whatever, is, what? Wouldn't we just drop an A2 on this thing? Wouldn't we just Moab the heck out of this?
Yes.
MFer?
So of course that would be, you know, that would be make the most sense. Hey, I kill it. But there's 2 things with that. The Moab is going to be expensive to craft, right? Like, that is a, you know, that's an endeavor essentially. And the second thing is that if you do that, if you do any like large, you know, big scale AoE attacks, you will destroy the harvestables. They'll just be gone. So any like large explosions, like we talked about in Idris Railgun, right? Like that is a lot of damage as well, and you'll just basically completely remove the harvestables, you know. That, or we're going to say, well, the quality is, you know, absolutely gone as well. So people like, there's this cheese strategy. It's like, I've already thought of that. So we've got you there already.
Now, what's interesting about this is I saw members of the community take this the exact opposite way, is that they were like, great. Another way for the A2 to troll me. While they aren't wrong, open world boss fights may end up like this a little bit. And maybe those PDCs that we're seeing on ships will come into play, where you man your own turret to take out the bomb. We know the bomb moves really slow and all that stuff. So it just really comes down to CIG making that experience balanced. And I think it is for the most part. It's just players don't really know how to deal with those situations on the fly that well just yet. Then we finally got to hear how a suit locker will work.
Well, those are on very different teams, like the Starware and the lockers. So those guys have very different priorities as well. I can't guarantee they'll come out at the same time. All ships that should have inventory, though, do currently. And for 4.0, a lot more of those will have like physicalized panels and things that you interact with to find those. And like the lockers themselves, those are really cool. Like they allow you to kind of pre-customize, your loadout.
Whole loadout, yeah.
Yeah, and then swap into it very quickly. Like, and your clothes would go into like the mannequin on the inside as well, so you can quickly swap back and forth. They also have like, small inventory space, so you can put your spares, like your glasses and your grenades and whatever in there. Yeah, so like there will always be somewhere to store these things when you have to take them off or swap. But they may not come online at the same time.
Now, I think we still need to hear a lot more detail on how these things will work when they are closer to being in our hands, but it sounds like they want loadouts and quick swapping, which is pretty cool. Even later on, they recognize the difference between the needs of Squadron, a multiplayer game, right? With PvP, especially like Star Citizen, you need to be able to get ready into the fight much faster when the time calls for it. And then this next answer to Jared's question honestly caught me off guard.
This question says, will flying with backpacks still be possible, or will we need to stow them?
You will need to stow them, yeah. It will be a case of, obviously, we have so many different backpacks and we've got more coming down the line, so it might be a case of I think it depends on the ship as well, we talked about, right? It depends on whether they be automatically stored or whether...
There are seats that, like, the dropship seats,
right,
that have their own inventory.
Yeah.
And you'll automatically have that backpack and your weapon, anything else that would clip, taken off and put in that inventory. And when you stand up, it will appear back on you. Because as you said before, Nick, the last thing you want to do is be strapped into your dropship, and then the doors open, and then suddenly, backpack gone, take it all out of the drawer.
That's huge.
Yeah.
And I think folks who own a dropship will appreciate that.
We're looking at other places where we can maybe do that as well, like maybe single-seater ships and things, but nothing confirmed.
This is so far from what I would have expected from Star Citizen. I really like the idea. So much time is wasted in a game with so much consequence and honestly, insane action at times, right? When there is action in SC, there's action, and you want to be able to be in that action when it's there, right? So the full suit feature then gets explained, and I like and kind of hate their idea.
I do want to clarify, actually, there's a bit of confusion about the full suit feature. That isn't some arbitrary buff. It's not something we just made up.
7 of 7 superpowers.
Yeah. Not all suits will have this kind of thing, but it tends to be systemic. So say the stealth suit's a really good one, right? The bit you put, the piece you put on your arms, that masks the emissions of your arms, right? So you need the full set to fully be hidden. Otherwise, some part of you is giving off emissions. It's not like, you put it on and then suddenly you vanish off the face of the earth. It is systemic.
So just to be clear, their choice totally makes sense. But as an MMO player, I always kind of like the idea of set bonuses. They're pretty fun, but again, I get it. And I'm totally cool with the path that they're going down. And then they finally explain their plans for recovering armors and weapons purchased on the store.
So, with your subscriber armor, you do gain a blueprint when crafting is introduced into Star Citizen. I looked at you because we were talking about crafting, and I thought you might want to carry on that just for the record.
Nick's the one who's
It's a
going to get
controversial topic.
Yeah, I'm very nervous about the question. I want to get right. So when crafting comes into Star Citizen, you will receive a blueprint for your items that you've got, and you will be able, those unique items you will be able to craft again.
And just because I know somebody's immediately going to ask, that's not a replacement of the item kiosk. The item recovery a kiosk that we've talked about in the past that is, I think it was at one point we intended it to be in a previous patch and it just wasn't ready and stuff like this. There are still plans for that when we solve a number of technical challenges. We were talking about that before the show, you know, how to keep that from being an item duplication machine. You know, it has to go through and find, like, where is the existing item? Where is the existing, oh, it's floating out in the, you know, halfway between Hearst and Microtech. Okay, it's got to clean that item up and you know, and give you the new one, so we're not just, you know, spamming hundreds and hundreds of copies. But also, if it was stolen, you know, if it was taken, well, okay, well, no, if it's sitting in somebody else's inventory, you know, well, that's you know, is that a legitimate, you know, kind of thing? Because we also don't want that to just become a duplicate thing. So there's a number of technical and logistical and just game rules things that we're still working out. But crafting seems like an immediate solution. Well, when it comes out anyway, like probably a more immediate solution to allow you to recover those items, because a lot of those items are really cool.
So the more I've listened to this over the week, the more I like it, with one tiny change. I'm so tired of us buying the weapon when you know that players are just buying the skin. Well, not necessarily, right? I do think players buy the weapon so they can recopy accounts and always have them back and that sort of exploit, right? But I feel like the blueprint should be for the paint applied to the weapon that you either crafted or looted or purchased in game. But I also love that they finally recognize that this system is absolutely an item duper and they need to nail it down. This also gives me the confidence that they understand their insurance system for ships sounds very similar. And if they don't, wake up. They have to get this one right. And then quick hits for the rest of the episode is the pouches from CitizenCon last year are in the plans, but no longer in active development. So 12 months or so. Lamau. And then the Valakar will not be a Mobiglass mission, but they're calling it a big event, so not really sure what that means. Jetpacks were hinted as our parachutes in the past, but they said something else is in the plans for that, but didn't give any more details. Nothing in development for pets, similar to other professions. The only thing they're saying about medics and other visors really are you're going to get more information. They're being very vague about it. You may be able to refill med pens on the fly. They also mentioned a concept of a hacking suit and charging energy mags wirelessly with a tech suit, and the salvage suit will take in and put out RMC straight to your backpack. That's another thing. They are scaling back how many suits that have EVA, and we know that there'll be a backpack as well. I'm not sure how I feel about that. EVA is such an important thing. Guilds will have more specialized armors, but they aren't exclusive to them. You can find them in loot, and they aren't special because they're guild armors. They're just, yeah, that was a weird answer. I think we would need a little bit more clarification on that. You can't wear heavy armor without heavy legs to support it as well. So that was SCL. We're finally back. But again, I am very curious how Jared is going to pull off the road to 1.0. And for other updates, we'll start out with a sneak peek. People are thinking this is the new Crusader ship, but I have no idea. I don't remember Crusader ever having stairs that look like that. So let me know what you think it is. And then subscriber promo. If you really like chairs, you might like this month's promo, but it starts out for $10 subs. You get a 20-sided die with a ship manufacturer logo on it, so you can roll to choose which one of the too many ships you might want to fly. I just can't with that one. Next is for the $20 subs, you get the die and a chair with the Crusader logo on it. And then there are 2 chairs available on the subscriber store for $5 each. One is the chair from the RSI Connie Phoenix, and the other is a chair with an Anvil logo on it. And lastly, they have a package with all 3 chairs. The IAE schedule is released. They gave us a little video and a schedule for the end of this month. It should be pretty rough at the moment, seeing the state of the server servers currently. How bad is it going to be with the free fly that goes on and all of that? Then for dev posts, Richard Towler, not to be confused with Tyrer, comes on to let us know that control surfaces are being worked on, but not being shipped because the priority is getting the flight feeling good, which is really good to hear because the community is very much letting the team know that it's not, right? We got a post from the community team sharing a lot of intentions with not a lot of timelines on when these things will be done, but I like what I see. Mining bags are getting a nice overhaul with the work, to work with the entire freight system, including the freight elevator to store bags and refine from separate from ships, which is really neat. The fog of war mechanic from RTSs is coming to things like caves and contested zones. When they talked about precision targeting, they wanted big ships to be a threat to fighters since they aren't much right now. And the Gridcat Rock, they want it to work. When? I have no idea. There's more there as well. Link will be in the description. Then the CitizenCon goodie pack reveal. Just a few pictures of what was worked on CitizenCon for the goodie pack. A trophy, like always, a Vandal skull or skulls, and a Valakar plushie. So pretty cool stuff there. And that will do it for this week. So thank you so much for watching Week in Review. I really, really appreciate it. If you guys want to subscribe because you're enjoying it, go ahead. Like the video if you enjoyed it. You know what to do if you didn't. And subscribe and comment and all that stuff. The outro game is still horrible. So thanks for watching, guys. And I'll catch you guys next week.